Hey, how you doing? Brothers and sisters, good afternoon. Pleasure to see you all again out there in YouTube land. And I hope that the weekend promises much excitement. You know, try to keep the sinning down to a modest amount. You know, all the children are going to be out there looking to get a little closer to perdition, drinking, whoring, smoking, doping, speeding, getting ripped, falling down in puddles of their own yuck, screaming, yeah! You know? I mean, nobody talks anymore. It's, hey, yeah, yeah, waving their hands around. Nobody talks. But you better keep on a good foot because you know, when it's all over and the shouting and they carry out on a stretcher, you know, the last face you see is the paramedic, or worse, the priest, or the nurse, or some relative wondering whether or not you've socked away a little insurance money so that your carcass is not a total waste. So it's all over in a flash. It really is. And you know, if you're about 17 or so, whatever, 16, go get yourself a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And I don't think there's anything probably more advanced than walking around hand in hand in high school with your sweetheart and making out, in the lockers, in the lunchroom, on a staircase, behind the bushes, dragging into the bathroom, behind the bulletin board, I mean, that didn't happen for me. I certainly, not that I knew what was going on, I mean, I was into attendance figures and batting averages, runs batted in, who got traded for whom, what place were the Giants in, and how did Western, go 1 for 4 or 1 for 8, and Valmy Thomas and Ruben Gomez, Willie Mays, Dusty Rhodes, Whitey Lockman, Don Mueller, Hank Thompson, Foster Castleman, whatever, those were the Giants. I guess Darrell Spencer maybe later on. But, I mean, if I'd have known that Trudy Dane was inviting me over to her house to feel her up and check her out, or do some kind of mischief, man, I just stood there, and she was in the 6th grade, and she invited me over to her house, and I just stood there like a pedestal. I didn't know what she was doing, and she went into the bedroom, and she did this, and she did that, and she flashed her eyes at me, and she blinked at me. She puckered her lips, and swiveled her hips, and I'm standing there thinking about West Covington. So, and not that I was unaware of the attractions of a girl. I just didn't know that you had to make a move. It took years and years, but by that time Trudy Dane was long gone. She was kind of like Jane Fonda with the upper body of Claudia Cardinelli. chick she was. Well, she gave me my first kiss, you know. I have to say that some half century later, you know, that still is a fine memory. And, you know, I mean, I did my living, man. I worked in Hollywood for 10 years, man. I was, you know, I can tell you things. I guess I'll get around to it. And just kind of getting warmed up into the atmospherics of being on a worldwide media network. You know, I don't know how, you know, when the viewership will increase so that, you know, I can, you know, say that I've reached out from beyond my crypt to embrace my fellow man. I mean, I like to do that. But it's just, you know, you really got to watch your step when you go out there on a weekend, man. You don't want to wind up a paraplegic, man. That shit is terrible. You don't want to get shot at a party. You don't want to get a girl pregnant, man. You don't want to get VD. You don't want to, definitely want to stay away from the man. You don't want to get belligerent with a stranger. I mean, I suppose that's what your parents, you know, the youngsters, you know, they think about. You know, the kids run out of the house. Ah! They gotta go here. I mean, I was like that. You know, my mom and dad thought I was going out to see friends. You know, and I was, you know, drinking Thunderbird and smoking Salems and getting into all kinds of scraps. You know, knocking people down on Flatbush Avenue and fighting with everybody and you know, trying to find a girlfriend. I mean, you know, I found a girl as soon as I walked that house. I never went out. I stayed in my room and I like to, you know, watch baseball and, you know, do statistics and, you know, all kinds of stuff, you know, that read a book. So I never went out much, but when I did go out, I did meet a very fine young lady. I guess she must have been a sophomore in high school. I guess I didn't leave my house till I was about a junior in high school. And as soon as I hit the street, there were a bunch of these. We used to call them hiddies, you know, and they would terrorize the kids. You know, would sit on the benches there on Ocean Parkway. And as soon as I made my appearance, I was a big strapping guy, weightlifter. As soon as I went there, man, some guy came over to me and told me some shit, and I slapped him upside his head. And the next thing I know, they were whipping aerials off of automobiles that were parked on the parkway, and they started hitting me all over the head and back, and I was slugging these dudes and knocking them every which way, and within like 10 minutes, I became a legend on a parkway. And this beautiful girl, Janet, she came over and gave me a big kiss, and we shared a bottle of wine. We talked for a few minutes, you know, and I didn't know and as soon as I walked out, I hit my peak, and maybe it was all downhill from there. She was mighty kind, you know. I didn't pay her no mind. I forgot about it as soon as I got home.